Hello, my cartoon fanatics. Today we're going to talk about something that happened in sort of on X/Twitter. Cyber dropped a video posting basically the similarities and differences of Steven Universe and Hasbin Hotel, sort of throwing shade of Vivi, how she sort of claims hate Red Sugar on show, but yet both shows are completely very similar. In fact, that kind of blew up like a long number on X, also on TikTok. But a lot of people are pointing out this is sort of an idea that's sort of stretched out because they're just basically telling sort of plot points or sort of generic or sort of ideas for that specific genre. And that's all it really is. This idea just sort of stretched to fit the narrative of the sort of character kind of assassination of Vivi downwards. But I have to say, it's not a bad comparison, but I have to tell you, there have been many other shows before this comparison before, like for example, GB Neutral and Dexter's Laboratory, SpongeBob and Coconut Fred. In fact, another one that is even better comparison is probably Dan the Menace, the American version, and then the Menace, the UK version. I think that one is probably the most compared of all because how similar and different they really are, but yet it's just scarily similar. But you break it down, you realize they're very different. The only difference is these two IPs actually have the same idea but different way to execute your idea, becoming something completely different. The only thing this guy is doing, how breaking down this idea, is just sort of showing the similarities but all the flawed things between two shows. And also what only thing is similar is being gay, it's a musical, and also I think that's it. Are not part of the same genre, but I will break it down because I do make sort of a segment or a mini series called Did a Rip-Up Stole from the Original? Not really, let me explain. Yeah, I will break down this too. Before I do, my name is Rachel. I like to talk about animation, not just animation through reviews, first impressions, cartoon theories, or sometimes, if I have some spare time, cartoon breaking news. Of course, you like how it's going, like to help my channel, pull a like, comment, and subscribe. That's the only thing you need to do. If not, that's fine. If you do, thank you. Because of you, I'm getting close to my main goal of 2,000 subscribers. And yes, I'm getting close every single day because of people like you. People pull like, comment, and share. Thank you. Now let's break down this video of what's the difference between Steven Universe and Hasbin Hotel according to this fan. Now let's get started. Now let me show you the short what this guy put on and we breaking down what he says.
I'm the child of a legendary figure who leads a group of queer ragtag misfits against an otherworldly force, and along the way we sing songs and make friends with some of our enemies. Here are my teammates, a tall mixed person with glasses, a white homosexual, and a long-haired girl who only shows one eye the entire time. And then there's me and my mommy issues because my mother is a complete mystery. I also get ridiculously overpowered when I'm mad. Hey, what is that one-eyed child doing here? Oh, and stay tuned because we're getting threatening messages from a screen. Oh, you thought I was talking about Hasbin Hotel? Bitch.
Now you listen to the very beginning, the first mistake has been spoken because they're trying to compare Steven and Charlie as sort of the same kind of wave character. They are the same main lead type of character, but only difference is Steven Universe is the only one who actually forced of his own legacy of his own mother. Charlie not really. Everybody sort of push her around or don't really listen to her. In fact, that's double stated in the series, especially on season 2. But you have to aware, she's a princess, but no one really cares what she says or she always be mocked. No one really listens to her, even in her own little group, that they do try and listen to you, but they're actually not. You don't know they're there to abuse her power or use something about her to get more power. It's always sort of a question mark. Now, off the bat, you can actually see what I mean. Those two characters are used completely differently. Now, the second comparison this guy does is saying both groups have this sort of misfit sort of queer compa group. In a way, this is true, but at the same time, not really, because Steven Universe sort of lore, the crystal gems are just rock people. They may look like human, but it's sort of a metaphor how you kind of link to them. feel them, understand them in a way. But all of that, that's sort of the only huge difference of this comparison, because if you compare Hazbin Hotel Misfits, there actually are multiple weird questions. You don't know one or two characters are gay, or other two are straight. Honestly, I'm not at deep at lore of Hazbin Hotel. You tell me below that all the whole group are gay or not. Tell me below, let me know. Now let's talk about the next thing he says. Now, the third comparison is sort of, you cannot see it even as a comparison, because both groups have to face this evil force to announce what they're trying to do. But this the thing, Steven Universe is just trying to survive, and that's all they're trying to do. Understand what actually happened to their own mother and figure out why this actually happening. But it's almost instinctive to survive. Hazbin Hotel is sort of want to change things, but they stir in the pot that people don't care of change. And that's sort of the difference between two ideas. Even that every single anime or cartoon or story, doesn't matter where you go, they always been that sort of kind of cliche sort of storyline of a bunch of group of misfits taking on something evil or big or organization. It's just super kind of basic, and this is what it's trying to say, that they just say sort of plot points or sort of generic sort of kind of drawn out sort of tropes of whatever genre you want to be. Now words, this is sort of not really that special. Now, the other thing he says is basically comparing they make music and make friends about their enemies to becoming kind. In other words, in a way, yeah, I give you that. They both do that, but at the same time, it's do it as a musical way, so it makes more sense. It also connects to sort of the hero's journey, helping in other people change their ways, because the main lead is a good person and trying to find them as a good person. But even that is sort of a lie, because Steven would murk someone who actually will not change. In fact, there is instance in the original show that he trying to maybe negotiate, talk, and the other being doesn't want to listen, do anything, just fight. Steven would defend and push it away. But also, Charlie also does this also on her own show, but she's more naive than Steven, because she's sort of a 1% who was protected by his father for so many generations, not knowing how to interact and understand contact or human emotions, how people actually feel about her and her people. But once more, these little things how they execute different shows. Now, the music of both is pretty obvious. It's because it's the same genre, the same musical sort of writing type of way to execute the only thing. But to be fair, Hazbin Hotel is more in a musical than Steven Universe. Steven Music has music, but it's more less. It's more, you think that what they needed of that specific episode there, because there are episodes they do not use music or musicals to tell the emotions of the character. Only they think that it's necessary to feel compelled and understand how they're feeling, because musicals is sort of sing their feelings, and they use it in Steven Universe wisely, and Hazbin Hotel is a physical musical. It's 110. Every single episode you have 3 songs or 2 songs, depends on the season. But that's the only difference, and yet so similar they actually are. Now, the other thing they sort of point out, sort of the obvious comparison of both shows, is the fact they have one sort of wise leader who has glasses, who are mixed origins, who help the main lead. The second sort of a white sort of gay helper, and the third in a mysterious colored person who hides her one eye. But the only part of this sort of comparison is sort of you sort of describing sort of cliche characters and use of the hero's journey. Every single story, doesn't matter where you go, use the same tropes. Sometimes they reverse it, depends of what type of genre they go into or what they think they need to tell the story. So this comparison doesn't really add anything, it just sort of shows you the cliches they actually use. Now, the other thing he adds on is sort of the two main leads sort of mommy issues. In a way, I can see how you approach that, but at the same time, they approach it two different ways, because like Steven doesn't know nothing about his mother, what she done, and her legacy. Realizing what she's legacy is sort of put a lot of pressure on Steven because everybody expect him to be like her mother, this glorious sort of warrior who helped change their own lives. But the only problem is he doesn't know who she is and why. Especially that twist at the very end of the series, you find out her mother is not what she's supposed to be. She actually is the main villain of the whole series, but she actually passed away way too long. It's almost like he finding her legacy was a lie to, and all the things she did horrifically to make her adjustment more easier on Earth. But we don't know Rose Quartz's sort of a real opinion. We just see glimpse of her, but we don't know who she really is and when she realized she actually changed or not. And this is sort of the difficulty of Steven. Doesn't know how to deal with who he is. Is she her or not, or his own being? Now, to compare to Hazbin Hotel Charlie, it's completely different. They use the sort of the trope of mommy issues, but Charlie is completely different because Charlie has her mother, but her mother never been with her. She chose to leave her, trying to figure out why she left. But it's more like because she is the major player or not, we don't really know because we just saw only 2 seasons, and third season will probably come out maybe next year. I'm not really sure, so it's sort of pending. She could say she is sort of the main villain of the series, maybe, or just a player, but at the very end we don't know why she left. Maybe she does care, maybe she doesn't care, but that's not the actually focus, because the whole focus of Charlie is, can she help her own people be redeemed? And does not sound similar to actually Steven Universe. There are 2 different ways to do it and different ways to do it. And that's what I mean. Interesting sort of comparison, but the comparisons sort of fall flat because of how they execute both shows completely different ways. Of course, the last few things this guy says or compares is the fact the 2 main leads get overpowering when they actually mad. But even that I could give you, yeah, it's a sort of a cliche, but the only difference is Steven Universe uses this cliche as an anime. You watch any anime with powers, you always compare to powering up a sort of emotion, sort of something they need to do, almost like a musical. So it makes sense Steven Universe gets mad. Even that they also explain, because he's half human and he also have a crystal, that his abilities are fused or augmented on next level than other crystals around him, because he is a very special person, but his powers are connected to his abilities. That's why he needs to be confident and control. If not, there will be backlash, like going super old because he sort of doubt himself and be nihilistic, or being super angry, he power up and be uncontrolled. That's why Steven had to be neutral 24/7. He has to be kind and nice to enable him to use his ability, not being sort of disabled by his ability. To compare to Charlie, they use it because they think they're sort of badass, and that's really is, because they don't really have a good narrative story why Charlie has superpower beings. They do explain it, but it's never really integrated in the story well enough because it's a musical. But at the very end, that sort of makes sense in Hazbin Hotel because it is the musical. It just kind of makes sense in a way. You could disagree they executed incorrectly, but at the very end, it does make sense putting it in there because it's a musical. Now, the last 2 things is basically sort of comparing sort of the one-eye character and someone has special abilities control the television. And that's basically the last 2 comparisons. But yet, that's sort of like a fun little clever poke of the person who made this video. In the very end, the whole point of the video is sort of flipping off Vivi because how she sort of claims she hates Rector Sugar, but it seems she copies a lot of things from her. But at the very end, no, it's sort of fall into people have the same idea sometimes at different times or different days or different years, like Dan the Menace, the American version in UK. Because you watch Dan the Menace and watch the first episode of both series, you realize they have the same idea, completely different execution. And Steven Universe and Hesper Hotel is the same thing. Have the same similar idea, but not really. They just sort of the same genre. And this is the moment you realize the more you compare things of two different shows who have similar ideas, the more you realize they're completely different. Because at the very end, everything is sort of had been done. There is no originality. In fact, supposed to be about, I think, 11 stories. I'm not 100% sure, just 11 or less than 11 that just repeat every single time. And I don't mean Hollywood. That's in general in human society storytelling. We just have a small amount of stories that we repeat. The only thing we make it different is sort of the genre, how you explain it, or how you use sort of the tropes completely differently to make it different as a story. And that's why you have sort of boring, generic, or made stories with Hollywood or books or comic books or anime, because at the very end, they just don't know what to do something different. So you have to change it up, mix it up. But at the very end, this clip, this person who created, is not trying to be a complete asshole. He's trying to have fun with this. But at the very end, he's tempted to make a point of discrediting Vivi. But at the very end, it doesn't really matter. Just enjoying the clip what it is, because it's kind of funny, but at the same time it's sort of obvious we're trying to do, but yet it was entertaining. I don't know you, how you feel about this. You feel this sort of good, bad, or what is your opinion? Tell me down below, let me know. I got nothing else to say, just thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Bye.